welcome to episode 15 of the Webcomic Beacon Presents First Issue.
I'm not even supposed to be here today, but I'm Marcus. That is Melissa. And this is Fes.
And I'm Fes. This week we're keeping that. We're gonna look at Mr. Terrific #1 from DC Comics.
Yeah, it's terrific!
Is it?
We'll find out, because I can't see this cover.
This cover...
All I know is there is a lot of white shit everywhere, and a dude who's black in the center of it.
Who's doing a dance.
He's voguing, man! Leave the Vogue alone! Don't fucking steal Vogue like Madonna did.
My neighbors are going to be so weirded out.
Okay, so we have this cover. I say this cover kind of looks 80s, which isn't a bad thing. It kind of looks 80s-ish. However...
Start
very bad 80s-ish. You got this circuitry in the background, which could be really nice, but it blends right into the logo, and you can't really...
It also blends into the costume of Mr. Terrific.
Yeah, Mr. Terrific wears like predominantly white with like blue stripes, and the blue is being illuminated by very stark lighting in most places, so the blue is white half the time. Mm-hmm. And so you've got just a lot of white everywhere. The little balls he uses are chrome, so they're like halfway white anyway. Yeah. It's a lot of like white and black contrast without much form to it.
I think this cover would work with different coloring. The rendering is perfectly fine. Yeah. I think if they had taken a different tack with the coloring, it would be a much stronger
He still has a very odd-looking pose.
He's voguing, I said.
Nothing wrong with the Vogue, man. But I think if he pop out from the background a little bit more,
or if he's popping out from like a logical background of like he's in the mist of something.
There's nothing wrong with that circuitry background. I just think if it wasn't white and there was a little bit more to contrast.
But on a shelf, it does stand out. It's like you're not going to know what it is. You're going to be like, your eyes going to draw to, like, what is that?
Yeah, your eyes will definitely be drawn to it, but then when you read Mr. Terrific, and you'll say, who?
Now, I know Mr. Terrific.
The character's been around for 30 years, and I only knew he existed for the last 4.
I didn't know about Mr. Terrific until the new 52.
And that's just this Mr. Terrific. I'm not even talking about the Golden Age Mr. Terrific with Fair Play on his friggin' belt. And the one thing that I did kind of like is he has Fair, at least, written on one of his arms and a tattoo, and maybe plays on the other. I can't tell. Yeah, it looks like it is on this page. Yeah, so his Fair Play is tattoos. I was like, that's cute. Although I never understood what the fuck that is supposed to mean. Because like, if you're on a team of dudes who might beat up one guy, how the fuck is that fair play? Whatever. Anyway, that's problems with Mr. Terrific as a concept. That's not even...
Alright, so what we have here is we open up to a shot of this guy showing that he is apparently immune to lasers. Because, for one, he is being shot by a laser right now. Yeah, right, because that laser doesn't go anywhere but his ass.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it might be giving him the tattoo.
That would be awesome. It's like the Fair Play Corporation tried to kill me, but all they did was give me these tattoos. They used their like logo making lasers.
Also, what's the perspective on this laser right here?
What is that?
Yeah, it goes underneath another laser and then somehow ends up like in front of it. I don't know.
Underneath another laser, beneath this leg, but over that foot.
Over that foot, but over that leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe these are just sensors. Maybe they're laser sensors. That's the only way I can explain this, because he's going to lose his legs and his shoulder in about a half second.
But then he gets shot with one giant laser, which seems to do about as much damage as a punch.
It blew the whole wall away.
Well, I'm talking about DC Comics. I mean, like, your average child throws people through walls.
True.
That's not fucking anything here. It's like, oh, you broke a wall. Well, maybe you can singe some of my leg hairs, but that doesn't do anything to an actual villain or hero.
I do have an issue with this guy drawn here that's shooting the laser. He's in this robot suit. Now, I'm going to have to say maybe he's just a torso or just a head in this suit.
Just a head in the jar. That's all I could think of.
It could be, because that's unless he has an elastic spine, he just snapped his spine with this move right here, because that... Yeah, but I tried to pick on the art a little bit more. And I only could get to the third page and kind of pick on Mr. Terrific looking really goofy while flying through the air. But
He's
honestly,
ready
that's
for
the
it.
only part where I really have a problem with like the posing and
Yeah.
such. Otherwise, it's
better at that.
it's all right art. But
Yeah, the art has some life to it, and it's clear enough you can
understand
follow
what's
the
happening,
story.
yeah.
I think the art is perfectly fine. There are a few odd angles and things like that, but
Yeah.
it's the art has a very airy, slightly cartoony feel, so you can take some liberties without really
Definitely.
and
having much of an issue with it.
the comic makes no shame about letting you know that this is in London.
Yes.
He basically, one of his dialogue boxes says he needs to use the landscape to his advantage. Unfortunately, what he knows about London could fit into a 2-part episode of Doctor Who, which is kind of cool. And then he says, note to himself, buy Jamal season 5 on Blu-ray.
I didn't like that because, like, to me, that's very 90s sort of self-aware. We're doing a pop culture reference. Like because if you read like some of the older comics, sometimes you'll read things like, "Oh man, I had to remember this is something just out of the Jurassic Park VHS tape on sale now," and oh god.
But you could say Doctor Who, and that's fine because of how old it is.
No, it'll still be.
Doctor Who is fine. I mean, it's
The
like
problem
that's
is it
probably
says
going to last for
season
another
5.
6. So, but this whole page basically tells you, yes, we're in London. You can't escape from me that way, Yank. And there's this guy that's like, oh, he looks like he's riding 3 snooker balls, and the girl goes, nice bum. And it's like, look, there's Big Ben. There's the eye. It's like, yes, we get it. You're in London.
London.
Yeah, we're really in London.
We're not faking
That's not how I've heard people talking in the street in England, really.
Because, yeah, Langs, they do say Britain and America are 2 countries separated by the Atlantic Ocean. And it's true.
I mean, like once again, sometimes you don't always have, I guess, ready-made references. But the one thing that was kind of odd about the speeches is like, look, you reference Doctor Who on Blu-ray, which means that you clearly understand that media from this country, specifically even this city, is readily available. If you need to know how people speak, it's not difficult to find reference.
In fact, if the only reference that they had was that first line, is like,
Doctor Who, Millennium Eye, there you go.
Yeah, you're done. It's like, I mean, all he has to say is that. It's like, really, everything I know about London can fit into a 2-part episode of Doctor Who, which is fine. That in and of itself is fine.
Yeah.
It's the season 5 on Blu-ray thing where I'm like, oh, that's going to sound so much like, I need to get the Star Wars trilogy on Laserdisc in a couple of years. Because they're going to mix it up with Blu-ray.
Yeah, so this first confrontation ends at the eye, and he has like this unrealistically long conversation about, hey, nice work, mate. Got a name? Mr. Terrific. Some people call me the 3rd smartest man in the world.
Why would you need
Why
to be
would you
that
need
specific?
to? Yeah, why do you need to advertise that? And then what would you get mad at the people asking? What does it bother you being 3rd? It's like, who's 1 and 2? And then he goes to say, well, actually, a simple thanks, black guy, for saving us from the homicidal maniac. Wearing weaponized body armor will do. Well, you brought up the 3rd smartest man. I'm sorry.
Well, the thing that always weirded me out with Mr. Terrific is how much they're very specific on the fact that he's a 3rd smartest man. Not one of the 3 smartest men on the planet, where it can kind of be nebulous. They want you to very much know this is a smart black guy, but he is not the smartest man on the planet. There is no way he's the smartest man on the planet. In fact, there's 2. So if you like, if you want to say, okay, is Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor are the first 2, or maybe even like, I don't know, Brainiac, if you want to call him an Earthling for these purposes, I don't know what they're going by, but they want to make sure you know. Yes, he is one of the smartest men on the planet, but God, no, a Negro is not the smartest man on Earth.
Yeah, that Life magazine article is really, he's really taking that.
They're very, I mean, it's like, why did they be that specific? Just say nebulously. 1 of the 3. Maybe he is 3rd. Maybe he's 1st. Maybe he's 2nd. Who knows? You can get around with
I
that.
think there's a way to turn it into a running joke, but
Oh yeah, but it sounds like they were trying to, and then they went the racial.
But we gotta move. We gotta move on with this comic here.
Well, yeah.
So in the next page, we get a little backstory about before he became Mr. Terrific. When I guess GPS kills his wife.
I guess.
evil GPS.
Her car's overturned in the middle of the street, and she's dead on the she's dying on the concrete with her. She fell into the concrete somehow out of her car. I'm gonna get her GPS it must have went screwy, is what the police said. How did it go screwy?
I think
to
her
a
GPS
point
was
that you're.
OMAC.
It's like maybe did she drive off of a cliff? I mean, it's if you're smart enough, you can understand. That, actually, you hear these stories about people driving into freaking like.
Shit.
Go straight on.
I don't think so. I'll find my own way, thanks.
This is your final destination. This is your final destination. This is your final destination. This is your
It's like, do you observe your surroundings?
Hang on. Is anything else damaged in the scene? I don't think he's even hit any other car.
It looks like your car just went. I think it just
exploded and went
had
upside
like
down.
fallen off of like a parking ramp or something.
That's all I can think of because there's no damage to anything else. There's not like another car involved. Like I could see maybe she freaked out when it said turn here and maybe someone got hit.
She
but no.
died of plot convenience disease.
Oh, definitely because you have to. And that's the weird thing with him. You have to establish he's an atheist because for some reason that's something that the character never shuts up about. I've only seen him in like 2 issues of anything ever before this one, and both times there's at least a conversation or 2 devoted to this fact. And it's cool with me. I'm like, I like that he's an atheist, but do you really have to mention it every single time you bring the character
Does Batman
up?
have to mention every single time that his parents were killed right
But he
before?
doesn't. Like, that's the thing. He doesn't.
Are you sure?
It's only
Yeah.
every 3 issues.
So anyway, moving on of GPS, the mass murderer. Let's see here. Actually, I want to see a new villain called GPS.
That would be great.
He just
Maybe.
his main evilness is just misdirecting people.
Yes, all he does is just
Look
like,
over there.
yeah, or he just tells people, look, talk to your wife about it, she'll understand. And then he gets divorced the next day. Oh my god, GPS strikes again. I don't know.
Anyway, so we get a little bit more backstory. Is he's just doing some science experiments. He's getting depressed. He wants to kill himself, and suddenly, dun da da da, his machine starts working, and I guess his son
son from the future.
materializes and says not to give up.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
And
that was kind of interesting, but I was like, man, that's gonna, considering how he looks, it'd be kind of weird to when he just starts dating again, because he kind of knows roughly what his wife would look like then, or at least not that wife, then the woman he ends up having the son with.
well, he looks more like him, so he must have the dominant genes.
Well, yeah,
That's
but I'm
what
saying
he
like
says, so-
it's just kind of funny.
It could be anybody. So then he has to be like, well, is this the girl? Should I wear a condom? Should I not wear a condom? You know, it's like, when do I know?
But that
When do
happens
I
anytime
know?
you've got time travel. You always get funny
Yeah,
shit. So that's not really specific to this.
But let's see here. We get a little bit of play with just a little bit of his home life, I guess.
The ultra smart diner guy who becomes a mass murderer out of intelligence.
Yep, and this is where our current conflict really gets into. Completely not related to the beginning part that you can observe anyway. Suddenly, this guy just starts. It seems like he's being omnipotent, like an omnipotent asshole. To which he murders some homeless guy, and there's nothing about it. It's like, and then basically it's like something from like the X-Files you'd see. Some guy's just like cranking away at some arithmetic and mathematics, and so they brought Mr. Terrific in because he's the 3rd smartest man in the world.
Not first or second. Don't get confused.
If Bruce Wayne was unavailable, or whatever.
I don't know who the hell the first 2 are.
I have
Maybe
no.
Reed
I
Richards.
can
don't give a shit.
I could conject, but
Yeah.
so he takes a look at it. He's like, man, this is really amazing. It's really, it's like, why is this guy? It's like, what could possibly happen? His brain had to have been altered. So he's going through, kind of figuring out what happened, and he's gonna go do some more science and figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm doing science!
Science rules.
Science.
I was like, okay, so it's kind of like the Venture Brothers, where science, this solves it.
Yeah.
It's like, there we go.
So, and then we get to another scene where he doesn't really do much, and then there's a social gathering where this.
Yeah.
Well, I have to point it out. There's this white chick that was. I'm gonna say they had done it because you're not gonna have a girl over hanging out in her socks and a t-shirt on a couch.
I'm not even sure she's wearing underpants.
Well, I'm gonna say she's not because I want to think
Yeah.
But
you don't want to think of her having underpants.
Yeah.
So it's better if she's nice. Okay.
Right. That works for me. And
That's
so there's
fine.
this social gathering in which she's there, and there's a lot of basically she looks to be the only white person there, and she has to point that out, or DC has to make her point that out because
Looks like there's more, but it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, there's like Princess Leia over here.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like this whole scene is like we need to bring up the fact that
really
there's
odd.
some race stuff in here, and it seems completely out of place and forced.
Yeah, I'm all for having a comic where there's a multiracial cast, and you see a
want
lot
that.
of you know,
that's-
ideally that if you're in a big city,
Yeah.
that's what you're gonna see. But this it seems overtly racially conscious. And
There's no
it
build up
seems-
to it.
Well,
Yeah, it seems out of place, and I don't think it's really called for.
It's like you're just things are happening, and then suddenly you don't like me because I'm white, isn't it? That's why you don't. Like
Yeah, I was like,
it's
what?
like, what?
It just seemed really, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I was just kind of like, oh, look at that. There's actually more than one type of person at the gathering. And I thought it was like, oh, the colorists.
There's just a
maybe
bunch of
was-
people there.
Yeah,
It's like, whatever.
well, the thing is, like, usually when you're doing comic scripts,
Right.
for a lot of people, you have to be very specific about the race of the characters in the background, or they're going to default to white. And that's just something that they're kind of taught.
I've
And
always
we-
hated that.
Yeah, we can go into the social shit for that, but not going to right now. But but like to me, I was like, oh, that's cool. Either A, the colorist just decided to have a racially diverse group of people in this background, which is cool, or the the writer specifically asked for it, and which is also cool. But then when it gets brought up, I'm like, oh, there's something this weird kind of. I don't even know why.
It's not brought up. I don't even know who the other woman
she was
is.
speaking to is because I was like, oh, what, did his wife not die? This character hasn't been introduced yet.
Well, she does call herself a black woman.
Yeah, which she is.
Yeah, which she
I
is.
mean, she looks Indian to me, but whatever. It's that's just an art thing. But
Yeah.
regardless, I just thought it was kind of
Wait, is
out
there
of
even a
place.
name for this white girl?
Thought she had. She might have had one when they were just finished fucking. Let's find out.
Paula. Okay,
Paula,
so we have
yeah.
Paula,
Paula.
and we
What other
have.
chick does she have a name?
She
And
does
black
not.
woman.
She does not have a name.
Let's
But
find
no,
out.
they would be talking about a man then.
Yeah,
But they
they're-
are talking about a
they're
man.
talking
so-
about a
Kind
man.
of. But they start going into social class and separation, and
Well,
for no reason, basically.
And the thing is, like, if it had something to do with the rest of the issue, like maybe it comes up towards the end.
Yeah.
that would be cool because it'd be like, okay, so you're setting up this later.
But that's the problem with this
They're not.
comic.
They're not.
They just keep showing stuff, and they're not really getting to anything.
Yeah, it's just kind of like. I
Spoilers.
didn't say who
Spoiler.
said shit.
Spoiler!
All I said was. Okay, sure.
So this comic is kind of all over the place. We get like one little blip towards the end of, oh, okay, it's happening again. Whatever happened to that other guy? So, but we still don't know anything about that. It's like, basically it's kind of like they're trying to set up the environment, the character, some of the background characters, the sort of stage. But they're like,
The idea
we got to
that
get this in here. We got to get
Yeah.
that in there. We got to get this in there. We
And
got to get that in
intelligence
there.
makes you evil.
Apparently, but.
Only the Overman would understand that.
I think
This is going a bit long, so we have to get down to how we do
I think the elements are there. I just don't think they were tied together
Assembled, yeah.
in a very graceful manner.
It's kind of like if you have all the ingredients for a good meal, and then rather than cooking them and one at a time and then adding them together, you just kind of dump it all in once. That's kind of like what I feel like. Where
Well, it's like no, I don't think they're blended well. I think that
that's the problem. Is
Yeah.
they should be blended in a masterful way. Like for example, if you want to have cake, ice cream, lasagna, and bacon, and then you just drop it all into one big soup and then stir it around instead of serving it one at a time. That's kind of what happens here.
Yeah, it seemed I will have to give this one a fail. This does not really get me to like the main character too much. It just confuses me with all the extra little bits and just kind of injected portions of it. We're not getting anywhere with this.
And I'm still getting thrown
I'm
off.
more confused about the art is good. I do like the art aside from some of the issues that I had at the beginning. It's stylized, very angular from different angles.
It's got some life to it.
The last page
it's
is
not
has
bad.
kind of a decent shot. I kind of like that. Ha! But I do have to give, as a number one, this fails. It just doesn't hold together.
I give it a meh. I'm going to say your mileage may vary. I think the elements are there to make it an intriguing number one. They don't quite hold together for me, but might hold together for you.
Yeah, give it a meh. I'm not really familiar with any of this, which you're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be number one. And at the end of it, I'm still not very familiar with it, other than the core concept that I guess intelligence makes you a psycho. The rest of it, I really kind of came in and out of my head. It was decent. I mean, the art was great. But as far as the story goes, I was like, okay, there are all these nice elements that, had they been blended properly, I would really be able to kind of latch on to. But
I would
as
borrow.
it stands, I'm kind of like,
I'd borrow number two if somebody had it, and I'd take a look at it.
yeah, and that's where a Meg goes.
So, all right.
All right.
And that was Mr. Terrific number one from DC Comics.